My mother is a white tiger. My father is also a white tiger. All 7 of my aunts and 8 of my uncles are white tigers. Yet I came out a black tiger. This so enraged my father that he beat my mother for 3 days and 3 nights. Then strung up the black leopard next door and thrashed him for 2.5 days. Yet still couldn't figure out why my bloodline was different. In a fit of rage, both my mother and father simply abandoned me and went their separate ways. Weak and helpless, I could only survive alone in the wilderness. Fortunately, fate did not seem to be entirely cruel to me. Not long after being abandoned, I awakened. A cheat ability. The self-improvement system. As long as I consistently kept doing something for a period of time, the system would reward me with a certain number of attribute points. So the first thing I did every morning upon waking was to train furiously. After 2.5 years of relentless training, I had grown from that once weak and helpless little black cub into the undisputed king of the forest of this generation. At this moment, I was out hunting for food as usual, when I spotted a white tiger cub ahead, surrounded by a pack of wild wolves, its body covered in wounds. Yet facing the encircling wolf pack, it showed not a trace of fear, baring its still not fully grown teeth, and letting out a threatening roar at the wolves. But its voice didn't carry the commanding authority of an adult tiger. Far from making the wolves retreat, it actually came across as rather adorably ferocious. The wolf pack closed in again. The white tiger cub's heart sank to the bottom. Damn it. Could it be that I, Liu Ruyan, having been reborn, am about to become food for a pack of wild wolves? Not long before this, Liu Ruyan had been reborn into this small white tiger's body. In her previous life, she had been the female emperor of the human race, revered by countless humans. Yet during the war against the sinister clan, she was betrayed by the upper echelons of the human race, and died at the enemy's hands. Seeking even a sliver of survival, she had cast a secret technique to protect her primordial soul, and when she next awoke, she found herself in the body of this small white tiger. To go in an instant from the supremely exalted female emperor to an ordinary white tiger was almost impossible for her to accept. But misfortune never strikes just once, because all the other tigers were Siberian tigers, and she was the only white tiger. Her birth parents had cast her out on the spot. She could only struggle to survive alone deep in the mountains, watching the wild wolves drawing ever closer. Liu Ruyan's heart was consumed with unwillingness. Could it really be that I, the mighty female emperor, have been reborn, only to die in the jaws of a wolf pack? Then a wild wolf let out a howl and lunged ferociously at Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan had nearly given up all hope of survival. Suddenly, a black shadow flashed before her eyes. The shadow moved with terrifying speed, carrying an irresistible momentum. The next instant, the black shadow opened its massive jaws and clamped down on the wolf's throat. A sharp crack rang out, and the wolf that had lunged at her had its neck instantly crushed. A great black tiger appeared before the wolf pack like a demon god, radiating an overwhelming aura of power, so terrifying that the wolves didn't dare come close. The lead wolf's pupils contracted sharply and instinctively stepped back. Over these past 2.5 years, my powerful form had become the nightmare of every animal for dozens of miles around. I gave them no opportunity to react whatsoever. A deep, thunderous roar shook the heavens. The wolf pack was instantly thrown into panic and chaos, scrambling away in utter terror, not even daring to fight back. With a faint air of disdain, I spat out a mouthful of wolf fur. Before Liu Ruyan could even process what had happened, the wolf pack had already fled. She stood rooted to the spot, her heart full of astonishment. Her round eyes wide open, Liu Ruyan stared at me, as if unable to believe she had just been rescued. A wave of genuine gratitude rose in her heart toward me. What a magnificent tiger king. And I lowered my head to look at Liu Ruyan, my gaze carrying a hint of surprise. The little one's performance just now was quite brave. You know, in all these years, other wild creatures couldn't even bear to hold my gaze, let alone come anywhere near me. This little white tiger had not only shown no fear, but had dared to look me straight in the eyes. Looking at Liu Ruyan, a rare flash of approval showed in my eyes. With a sharp tearing sound, I ripped off a wolf leg and placed it before Liu Ruyan, then turned and walked away. Liu Ruyan looked at the wolf leg and snapped back to reality. She limped along and hurried after me, her steps unsteady, but filled with determination. She didn't want to let me leave just like that. She knew well that in this dangerous forest, only by staying with me, did she have any hope of surviving. I stopped walking and looked at Liu Ruyan with puzzlement. Little one, is there something you need? I want to follow you. Liu Ruyan's voice carried a note of hope. She was only a tiger cub right now, and had been injured on top of that. It would be difficult to survive in this forest alone. Follow me? Where are your parents? Liu Ruyan lowered her head, putting on a pitiful expression, because my fur color was different. My parents drove me out. I haven't eaten for 3 days. Liu Ruyan continued playing the sympathy card, yet inwardly felt deeply ashamed of her own behavior. I, Liu Ruyan, the mighty female emperor, who once held the power to overturn heaven and earth, who could decide the life and death of countless people with a single thought. And now I'm reduced to playing the pity card to gain sympathy. What utter humiliation! Seeing that I didn't respond, Liu Ruyan spoke up again. Please, I beg you. I want to live. Those words struck me right in my soft spot. I thought of how both my parents had been present, yet I had still ended up an orphan. I had always thought my own situation was tragic enough, but here was someone whose experience was so very similar to mine. Truly, we were kindred souls cast to the same forsaken fate. A wave of sympathy for the little white tiger rose in my heart. Fine. Then you may follow me. Liu Ruyan's heart leapt with joy. It seemed she had successfully won the other's sympathy. To think, I, the mighty female emperor, now have to survive by earning the pity of my own kind. How mortifying just thinking about it. Fortunately, this was only a tiger. Otherwise, she really couldn't have brought herself to ask. With my permission granted, Liu Ruyan carefully fell into step behind me. As Liu Ruyan walked, she curiously studied me. How on earth had this fellow managed it? Before the revival of spiritual energy, he already possessed such a remarkably powerful physique. Although she had only been reborn not long ago, Liu Ruyan was certain she was still on the same planet, the same world as her previous life, only she didn't know how long it would be before spiritual energy revived. Without it, almost none of the cultivation techniques she'd mastered in her past life could be practiced, And before that day came, it seemed she could only follow this great black tiger. I walked ahead, and suddenly noticed the little white tiger had fallen behind. I stopped and looked back, and saw Liu Ruyan hobbling along with great difficulty, painfully slow. I walked over to Liu Ruyan and looked down. Only then did I see that her hind leg was severely injured, and still bleeding, blood flowing steadily, staining the surrounding white fur red. Not bad, little one. You've got real grit. Hearing my words, Liu Ruyan couldn't help but give a slight shake of her head, even though she was now nothing more than a tiny white tiger cub. That female emperor's pride still remained within her. I looked at Liu Ruyan with a smile. Little one, at this pace you're moving far too slowly. Come up. With that I crouched down. Liu Ruyan hesitated for a moment, then climbed on. The moment Liu Ruyan climbed onto my back, she experienced firsthand just how powerful my physique truly was. What on earth had this tiger been doing all this time? For its muscles to be this extraordinarily developed? As female emperor, she had seen all manner of things. Every bizarre cultivation method imaginable, every eccentric cultivator imaginable. All kinds of evolved beasts and mountain spirits and sea monsters. None of it could faze her anymore. But something like this, before the revival of spiritual energy, possessing such extraordinary physical power, was something she had simply never heard of. This made Liu Ruyan intensely curious about me. 2.5 minutes later, I brought the little white tiger back to my territory. Here, there was a crystal clear stream, where I would come to wash up after my daily training. I set the little white tiger down, and let her clean her wound first. With that, I turned and left. This was my territory. No wild beast would dare come here. The little white tiger would be safe. Watching my departing figure, Liu Ruyan blinked her big eyes. She hadn't expected this great black tiger to be so thoughtful. Even knowing to have her clean her wound, it seemed this tiger was far more intelligent than she had imagined. While cleaning, Liu Ruyan found herself involuntarily turning things over in her mind about me. He takes care of the weak, and understands the importance of cleaning wounds. Just what is this great black tiger? Little did she know that I too had been reborn, and in my past life had been a top medical school student. Moments later, I came striding back, hearing the footsteps. Liu Ruyan was still on edge from the earlier ordeal, and almost instinctively snapped her head around, to look in my direction, and saw me walking toward her with several plants in my mouth. As she looked on in puzzlement, she watched me chew the plants to a pulp. What is that? Liu Ruyan couldn't help but ask. I glanced at her. These are medicinal herbs. They can treat your wound. It may sting a little at first, though. Bear with it for a moment, and it'll be fine before long. All right. Liu Ruyan's eyes went wide at those words. Her left eye screaming impossible, her right eye screaming unbelievable. But before Liu Ruyan could recover from her shock, I had already pressed the chewed plants onto Liu Ruyan's wound. This tiger is actually applying medicine to me. Liu Ruyan looked down at her injured hind leg. She could barely believe her own eyes. But the faint tingling sensation coming from the wound was telling her clearly that this was absolutely real. But how would a tiger know how to treat wounds? I didn't pay any attention to her astonished expression, only the corner of my mouth curling up slightly, with an air of quiet smugness. Little one, you rest up properly. I'll go get you something to eat. Liu Ruyan was momentarily taken aback. Her gaze fell on the wolf carcass lying nearby, her heart full of puzzlement. Isn't the food right here? Just thinking about having to eat raw meat shortly, Liu Ruyan felt a wave of discomfort rise within her. After all, having once been female emperor, when had she ever been in such a wretched state? Let alone eating raw meat. Even the food ordinary people ate she had always turned her nose up at. Never mind. Staying alive is what matters most right now. She steeled herself mentally, then looked up, only to see me skillfully tearing at the wolf carcass, peeling off the fur, washing it clean. The whole sequence of movements fluid and practiced, completed in one seamless flow. Liu Ruyan's eyes went wide, her heart full of utter amazement. This great black tiger was actually this meticulous, even skinning the prey before eating it. Her intense curiosity about this great black tiger grew even stronger.